Now, Valdo Calikane's sentence for killing 3 people in a knife rampage in Nottingham last summer was found not unduly lenient by judges yesterday.
If you recall, he was given an indefinite hospital order in January after pleading guilty to the manslaughter of the students Barnaby Webber, Grace Amali Kumar and the school caretaker Ian Coates.
So the families of the victims are now calling for a public inquiry, and joining us now is Barnaby's mum, Emma Webber. Good morning, Emma. Thank you so much for joining us. I've seen you do several interviews and I'm always moved by your stoicism, your strength, your courage, your ability to remain articulate in this face of this much pressure. Just tell us, first of all, where were you yesterday when the court case was being heard, and how did you feel as that panned out?
Yeah, so good morning both. Thanks for having me. We, David and I, my husband and I, stayed at home. We were in Taunton, where we live in Somerset. We were not expecting anything other than the outcome yesterday. I think we've hopefully made it very clear that all 3 families united do not accept the plea of diminished responsibility, so therefore manslaughter, alongside the attempted murder charges. And we feel it's the result of a very, very flawed and failed police investigation and a weak CPS prosecution from the East Midlands and an utter over-reliance upon doctors' reports. So what happened yesterday wasn't asked for by us. It came from the Attorney General. It came from her office. I think that there was always a glimmer of hope that there might be a modicum of comfort if Calicane had some form of penal element or punishment added to him, but we weren't expecting it. I think with what the judges in High Court were presented with and the Judge Justice Turner in Nottingham back in January were presented with, I think it was probably an inevitable result.
The inquiry you're now seeking, Emma, that's not just into the sentencing, is it into the whole conduct of the police investigation?
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's actually hard to know where to begin with all of the catastrophic failings and missed opportunities. It's very, very clear to us and to everybody involved that there were massive problems and errors and mishaps leading up to the 13th of June for this individual being out in the community in the first place. Warrants not being executed for his arrest, etc., and inadequate at best medical care. However, since the 13th of June, we've raised some very real concerns, which are also being investigated, about Nottinghamshire Police, obviously Leicestershire Police, the Mental Health Trust. As I sit here talking to you guys, we've got 8 individual reports, reviews and investigations taking place about all of it, and it's utterly overwhelming. We as families are involved in those, and obviously we have to be. But I think our concern is now, following how things have been happening, and the quality, better with some, not so good with others, of the reviews and the people leading them, is we don't feel it's going to be cohesive. We don't feel it's going to be joined up. And therefore the really urgent questions aren't going to be answered. So it was we're now feeling that Keir Starmer was right in January, where he called for a public inquiry straight away. And we listened to the Prime Minister and said, OK, well, he said that's not out of the question, but, let's get all these urgent reviews done first. And now we're 5 months down the line. It's becoming fairly obvious to us. I think the only way we'll ever get answers for ourselves, justice and also public safety and changes is a public inquiry.
And because you would want the public inquiry to conclude what, Emma, in a way that should have been done differently first time round? I mean, as you say, there are lots of issues prior to the offence, but also in the subsequent investigation. But I imagine you have a to-do list that goes around your head when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning that you would want to see ticked off. And what is on that to-do list for the safety of all the public?
Yeah, I think it's, like you say, it's enormous. It's a very big to-do list, but it's every single thing that went wrong is because of error. It's entirely the murder of my son and of Grace and of Ian, and the attacks on the others were entirely preventable. And they're the result of poor treatment, of missed opportunities, poor policing from 2 forces. All of that has to be looked into, because this isn't an isolated case, is it? This is going to happen again. It's when it's going to happen, not if, and it could happen anywhere. And there've been very, very recent hideous cases that bear some similarities, which really, really terrify me. So I don't, the message that I'm getting from people is people do not feel safe. They don't feel there's adequate protection. There's not adequate treatment for seriously ill people. Murder is murder. This individual knew what he was doing. He planned it for months and months on end. However, allegedly, he's too diminished to stand trial for murder. But he didn't even receive. I'm so sorry.
No, I was going to
Carry
say.
on.
So is it that you accept the diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, but you think therefore he should have been in an institution or somehow contained or medicated? Just you accept the diagnosis, but you don't accept the diminished responsibility.
Yeah. What we accept, and we've never ever disputed, is Valdo Callicane is a seriously unwell, very dangerous individual. He was symptomatic in 2019. He was diagnosed in 2020. There's an escalation of incidents and assaults from that stage onwards, including being sectioned 4 times, being arrested for assaulting a police officer during a mental health intervention. And it was so severe that he ended up being tasered. That's what the outstanding warrant from Nottinghamshire was that they never executed. So I think what we're showing is this is an individual who was diagnosed, who has chosen to not take his medication. He's stockpiled his medication. He doesn't actually even believe he's unwell. But he was well enough to make a number of rational decisions during his alleged psychosis of this whole period. He completed a 2-1 degree in mechanical engineering at Nottingham 12 months before he murdered Barney. A month before he murdered Barney, he had a job in a factory in Leicester. He assaulted 2 co-workers. The police were called, and I can't go into the failings because they'll be made public soon, but it's pretty obvious that was a massive missed opportunity as well. And so this is an individual that the care system's failed him. He's failed himself. And there has to be accountability, and there has to be change, or I think it's going to happen again.
Emma, how do you get through each day?
By my fingernails, hanging on to something, if I'm honest. We've got an amazing network of people. We've had just an overwhelming amount of support from the public. And that really does encourage you, and it keeps you going, because, of course, we check ourselves to make sure that it's not just us, venting our grief and our anger. And as I say that as we, as all 3 families. Sadly, we aren't getting the support we should be getting from the Ministry of Justice through victim support. You're given a paltry 12 sessions of therapy you're allowed to have up to. We're nearly a year in. My husband, my son and myself have used those just to try and stabilise ourselves. And we've now been categorically told, no, that's it, you're on your own now. You have to go into the NHS or pay. And when I know that Callicane is costing the taxpayer upwards of 350, 400,000 a year, and we believe he's in receipt of his benefits because he's a patient, not a criminal, I think it beggars the question of, the Ministry of Justice says that victims are at the heart of everything that the criminal justice system does. It doesn't. We're an appendix. We're an afterthought, and that has to change too, for the sake of mental health and people's futures.
And there must be a sense that you and the Kumars and the Coates family, you can't really start to grieve properly when you're in this busy stage of grief, because everybody gets busy when somebody dies, you plan a funeral, whatever. But your busyness in this has been going on for nearly a year now. What will the end look like for you in terms of when you can sleep possibly better at night?
I think that we've made it abundantly clear that until we are getting proper answers to our questions and things are in motion to ensure safety and ensure changes, look, I mean, the laws are archaic. I saw your report before about knife crime. That's obviously it's a whole other discussion. We cannot change the world. We cannot change our law. We can't become armchair experts in everything, but all we can do is use the voice that we've got. We're coming up to the first anniversary, which is going to be the worst first of them all. Bless him, I can see him.
I know.
Emma, and how's Charlie doing?
sitting in GCSE as I speak to you, which he's utterly thrilled about. Great timing, right? Yeah, it's great. It's great having your 16th birthday and then your GCSEs and, having your brother murdered and everything in the public eye. But, he's a hero. He's an absolute legend, Charlie. He's doing so well. He's engaged with support that's been offered. As I said, that's now ended. School have been amazing. Friends have been amazing, but he's lost his hero. He's lost his nemesis, his big brother, his best friend, and he's lost his future with somebody that he thought would always be there. But anyway, thank you for asking. But he's doing all right.
We were on air, Emma, when this story was breaking, actually, and there are few stories really that stay with you, and your story and that of the other families has really stayed with us, and we will be thinking of you on the anniversary.
And Emma, and the best of luck with your campaign, because I think you've not been denied. You've been denied the justice you deserve, and I'm very disappointed with that verdict yesterday. But much love to you and to your husband and to Charlie. And let's hope his exams go well too.
Yeah, and if you ever want to come and talk to us and we can support you in any way, we are here. So.